right, good morning, everybody. We just got a weather report. It's supposed to snow here in a couple days. And what I've done is I have made something. I have made a kind of a disposable snow plow for my machine. And what I did was I just used leftover wood. I've got a pile of wood right here that I've been just kind of, these are scrap pieces from random things. And so I got those random pieces of wood and made myself a wedge of sorts. So this is mostly built out of, a couple 2x10s, some scrap 2x3s. There's one 2x4. And then right here, we've got a piece of OSB that'll actually be the, quote unquote blade. And I've got the blade, the OSB, sticking down about, about 3 or 4 inches lower than everything else. And that way it'll give it 3 or 4 inches where it can just grind away and the bucket won't be scraping. It should just be that piece of wood. And again, if this doesn't work, it didn't cost me a thing. I didn't even go to the store and buy anything. I just used leftover screws and wood. Now, the only finicky thing about this is it wants to roll out. Even though I've got it, kind of tight along that blade edge, it still wants to roll out. So I am having to use these 2 clamps. But if for some reason this little makeshift snowplow doesn't work, it's easy enough to take off. And I know that the bucket will be able to push and, of course, scoop snow. But I believe this little wedge shape will do a little bit better of a job. So here in a couple of days when it actually snows, I'm going to test it out and show you how it works. Now, just to clarify, this is not really as much of a test for this little makeshift snowplow that I made. I know that this is only going to last this one event. It's not made to last forever. In fact, after I do this test, I will probably just use it for firewood. But I just want to see if the machine will actually push snow. How well does it push snow? That's what I want to test. So also, if my voice sounds a little bit weird, I'm coming down with something, so it may be a little bit scratchy. But took the stump bucket off, moving over to this. Let's see if it can push snow. Alright, so I've made about 5 passes with this little makeshift disposable snowplow. It's actually working pretty well. It doesn't get everything, and you can actually see right here that it's chipped a little bit. And it's chipped actually where, some of this concrete actually has a crack and it's catching. Now, I don't know if I can do my entire driveway because, I don't know if you can tell from the video, but it's actually a pretty steep slope right here. And so this 2,000-pound machine may go sliding. Actually, there's a good representation right there. It may go sliding all the way down the driveway and not be able to come back up. I'm not sure. I may try it in just a second. Quite amazed at how much snow this thing is able to push. It's crazy. Okay, so now you're going to see me try to walk up the driveway, and you can see how slippery and steep it is. That's me in my work boots.
And there's still a little bit of residual snow, maybe some slush, but it's pretty slick. But actually, those tracks, they gripped better than me walking up there in my boots. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just trying to clean up some of that residual, in particular down at that flare at the end of the driveway. I'm going to try to clean that up just a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm pulling the mini skid up to the camera. I just want to get an update on how much damage is at the bottom of this OSB that I'm using. And you can see towards the center there's a spot. This actually happened early on, but there's a spot, hence all the streaks in the driveway. But it's still doing a pretty good job though, considering. All right, and now what I'm doing, I'm just trying to clean up what I piled down there in the road. So I'm going to make one big pile up there in front of the camera, and then eventually push it over to the side. Okay, and just so you know, I am speeding this up ×4 because this whole operation took me about 20 minutes in between, moving cameras around and such. But nobody wants to watch 20 minutes straight of me running this machine, so that's why I'm speeding it up. Now I'm just kicking over what was, left from the side. Get it all piled together and, yep, hit my tripod. And now let's get another update on how much damage has been done to this OSB. So I'm going to pull it a little bit closer to the camera. And you can see that big spot in the middle. It's a little bit worn on the right and left. So it's done its duty. And that's about all it's going to do. But I got to tell you, this thing is just so fun to drive around, especially in the snow, because you don't have to worry about the tracks walking off on that slippery surface. Okay, so now that I got that piled in that one area, I'm going to try to, just push this over in my yard to be courteous to drivers. And yeah, I'm just going to push it over there to the side. And you can see that as I push this snow, you're going to see it kind of bind up and the tracks start to slip. But the reason why, there is actually a curb. I'm binding that up against a curb, so I'm having to lift the bucket just a little bit to get it over the curb. But it's just compressing all that snow. That snow down there on the bottom left is just compressed against that curb. So that's why the tracks are slipping, as well as just the fact that it's a snow-covered road. But I got to tell you, the thing was impressive.
All right, we're back in the garage, and she's actually been defrosting overnight. It's the next day, and I got to tell you, I am just super impressed with how the machine did. I wasn't sure what to expect, but the traction was excellent. It was actually, the traction on this was better than the traction just for me walking in my boots, and it was able to push snow with ease, actually. And to be honest with you, this kind of homemade from scrap wood snowplow, it did great. Now, it suffered some damage, and that's what we're going to look at. Let's see what all happened. So you can see on this left-hand corner, it's starting to, kind of cave in there. This section right here actually happened early on. And in the video, you can see that there's streaks. After I made several passes, there started to be some streaks, and it's from there right there, where it wasn't making a clean scrape. But as far as what I would do different, if there was only two things I would do different, is one, I might make the actual angled portion just a little bit sharper, so the snow would go over to the left. The only other thing I would do different is maybe instead of using OSB, I might consider using, a 1x or something like that. I think it may hold up better to those relief joints and cracks in the concrete. But still, all I have to do is just unscrew this, flip it around, where that green edge is down at the bottom, and I'm ready for the next snow event. But come to think of it, let's try something. So it's, like I said, it's the next day, and it's not so much powdery snow anymore. It's more ice now, so maybe this is not fair. But my neighbor has a house for sale. He's actually moved out. So maybe we can remove this makeshift snowplow that I made, and let's just test the bucket. Let's see how the bucket does in comparison to this. I think that would be pretty interesting. Of course, we know it's going to scoot, but can it push? I don't think it's going to do as good, to be honest with you. I think this will push a larger quantity of snow versus that bucket. I think once that bucket gets full, it's just going to start spreading around.
Okay, so let's get this thing off, get the bucket on, and go back to testing. Okay, so after coming out here today and I went to my neighbor's house, the snow has actually melted quite a bit compared to yesterday. So in no way a fair comparison. So I'm not going to scrape his driveway. There's really not a substantial amount to scrape. But what I am going to do is I'm going to pull this that I piled on the side of the road yesterday. I'll pull it back onto the road. I'll scrape a little bit just for the purposes of a test. But this is way different. I mean, this is just about an ice block now, whereas yesterday it was snow. And then part of that is slush, like right here, it's just slush. So okay, we're done with our testing, and I just wanted you to know that today the conditions are nothing like yesterday. Yesterday it was below freezing. I could barely, go down the driveway without sliding. But today that's not the case. It's actually melted quite a bit. I'm not sliding around any at all in these boots. The snow is melting at a pretty rapid rate right now. So what we were scooping up with this was a mixture of, compacted ice and slush. So again, not a fair comparison to yesterday, but as far as the bucket goes, yeah, the bucket will do the job. I personally like the homemade snowplow because I don't want my steel bucket scraping across my concrete driveway personally. I would rather it be that wood, because that wood is, going to be softer than that concrete. It's not going to leave marks. And if the wood gets damaged, then who cares, But in terms of the mini skid, you know what? This thing continues to amaze me. I love this thing. You cannot beat the capabilities of this for the cost. So I like it. Maybe it'll snow again and I'll get to play some more. All right. That's it for this video. Till next time.